Hello, lovelies. Today it's Saturday, January the 14th, and we go into the very last 20-day process. Today is a portal day, as you can see, which matches where we came in on the 19th of May. And this last 20 days also ends in a portal. Yellow cosmic sun, what needs to shift in our shadow story. So by the time we get to here, we're going to be at Imbolc, IMBOLC. And if you don't know what Imbolc is, check it out, Google it. All of these festivals are very old and they're in connection with the goddess and the god. They're ancient, they're woven into us depending on where you live in the world. So, for example, I hail from the north of England and have a very strong Celtic pagan connection. And all that means simply is about working with the cycles and the circles and how our society in the West has taken us away from those circles and cycles. So, for example, not resting during the winter part of the year. Because we have all this technology now, we have all of these shiny bright lights, and so therefore we don't need to be in the dark and sleep and rest. And that, of course, has taken us away from the nature of things, that we're coming back into the balance with the sacred feminine, the balance of being connected to the sacred and the land, and moving away from this false created structure that makes us ill. So today is a really important day to focus on what has been raised to your awareness around survival issues. Red Dragon, the initiator, is Neptune and is what the Great Mother is bringing us for our conscious evolution. So moving away from how we've created coping mechanisms to keep on doing the same thing that hurts us out of fear. And fear, as you know, if you've done any personal development, is false evidence appearing real. That's one way of translating it. And this very much fits in with the cards today. So remember, this whole process of 20 days, we're constantly going from what the Great Mother is bringing us, where we actually are, how much we're in alignment with self-care, nurturing, going back to nature, going with the wheel of life, the natural wheel of life, down to the sun, the 20th Mayan sign, which is the language of light card for today, the Mayan Oracle card. And so we're constantly doing this 20-day process, and it takes us through steps in a spiral. So it doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in terms of the spiral. It goes through a different process, which I've mentioned before on my other videos. And again, I'm not embodied with this yet. The only two that begin in the red castle are the Red Dragon, number 1, which begins at the start of every spiral, which will be the 3rd of February is the next one, and White Wizard, which is the second 13-day process. So the first 13-day process brings us into what the Great Mother is bringing us. So this is why it's good to have an intention for the next one. And I'm doing a workshop on next Saturday, and people joining that now, which is great to see. I'm really excited, people coming in to join that. And there'll be a link underneath so you can check that out. If you want to join, please let me know in the next few days, because I have to do work for you in terms of code so that you can work with a conscious intention. And I'm also doing 52-day process as well for that. So if you want to join that, I'll put a link for that as well, so that we start the next cycle with this conscious awareness. Because in the first 13 days, what's going to happen is we're going to interact with the holograph, with the world, as we see it, as we perceive it, as we currently are working with it. And so it's good to have a heads up as to what we're going to be working with and what the starry skies are focusing on for us. And going back over old ground so that we can initiate, that's today's card, so we can initiate new earth within us. I'll put links for these as well. These are amazing cards. And also this is Virgo as well. And this is the epitome, really, of this process and emotional freedom technique. So, you know, this is, if you look at the symbology here and check this out with the link that I place, these soft cards are amazing cards. This is card number 9. So if we want to do the number 9 process on here, which is solar, which in the first initiation is red moon, we have to learn how to really work with everything that we've got and go within and be brave to look at it, to look at what's hurt us, because that's where the magic is. That's where the transformation is. And once we start doing that and we use a particular methodology to release the emotion and heal, then we start to become a different human being, which is number 13 is Red Skywalker. And Red Skywalker is the human being who is doing this process in order to get clear of their ancestral wounding story and start doing something new in order to birth a new earth. So to go back to what I just said, number 1 is the initiation in the spiral. So as we go across, this is a spiral for every single one. And I'm going to use White Wizard because that's the 13-year cycle that we're in. And we're going to be going into a year 5 of this on the 26th of July. So again, the more consciously you work with what's happening for you rather than what's happening outside of you and everywhere else, the more you will come into your power and you will be able to do this inner work. That's what this process is about. So we go from the initiation. The next step is the integration. Then we look at the emotional story. So again, in this particular one, it's red and then white. They don't all work in this way. So it depends where they're placed on the spiral. And you can see how they go across. You can see the patterns. So the emotional story, refinement. Then we go to a next level. That's the solar there. We go to the next level with that, because as we do the healing, we heal our emotional conflict and our holograph changes because we're starting to learn the lessons. It also means we change our behaviours, we change our belief system about ourselves, and we go into a whole different space. The universe does not keep bringing us the same thing if we're learning, if we're healing and we're doing something else. This is very important to understand. Then we have the alchemy. So you start doing more alchemy. Then we have the manifestation at that point. So we see where we're at. Okay, so that is step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By step 6 in the spiral, we're seeing the manifestation. Then we're going to self-existing, because that's the position that we want to be at, self-existing, free of survival stories, free of codependence, free of needing anything or anyone in an unhealthy way, the addiction process that we're coming out of. Then we go into dissonance, so what we need to let go of. Mastery of this process, being in our center. We know that we're mastering it the more we can come into our emotional center, so we can keep our head when the chaos is going on all around, which is a good thing at this time. Then we have crystal, which is about becoming crystal clear. So there is an actual process of this, which you can find in your chart, which was coined by Barbara Hand Clow. So using Saturn and Chiron and Uranus. So what's coming to light around our wounding story, that's our challenge. It's not going away. It doesn't matter where we go. It doesn't matter what we do. We're here to do this process. So the more we know about it and the more we've got tools to use, the easier it becomes. Then we've got balance, coming into the rhythm of letting go of old worlds so new ones can begin. Then we have the shift, what needs to shift again. So, have a look back over this cycle and say, okay, don't want to keep doing this forever. This needs to go. How am I creating this for myself? And then finally, we come to resonance. And when we're in resonance, which is today, resonance, which is number 7, so that's blue hand. How am I resonating with truth, with the cosmos, with the galactic sun? How am I embodying the goddess more and more every day? How am I nurturing myself? How am I moving away from being in survival, which doesn't feel good? And technically, again, false evidence appearing real. So how we're manipulated by people in power in society. So big corporations, for example, dangling the shiny carrot, is because they know how to push our buttons. Now, if we haven't got any buttons to push, then we're in a whole different space. How do I know what my buttons are? You may ask. Good question. Well, because you get triggered. You get an emotional trigger. You now know what you value. Over this past couple of years, it's shown as a whole different way of being. There's been a huge pattern interrupt in terms of a reset. And remember that although a lot of this way of being may be very unwelcome, it is a big wake-up call to what's really going on underneath. And of course, anything and everything is part of the evolution process and the divine universe. And having faith about that is really key. Wherever we are doubting the process, wherever we're feeling angry, wherever we're feeling scared, that's where the buttons are. And we have inherited that from our ancestors, from past lives, and also from things that have happened to us in this life, because this is the latest version that we're living right now. Maybe we're also living lots of different simultaneous holographs, depending on your belief system. Who knows? What I know is using emotional freedom technique really works. Using these codes, using these systems that have been around for thousands of years, are science. Despite what some people will tell you, how can they not be amazing frameworks when people have studied the stars for millennia and recorded what they do? Anybody who talks about astrology as not being a science does not know what they're talking about and does not understand it. Once somebody has experientially worked with a dream spell, as I have for 12 years, there's no doubt in your mind. These are all patterns. This is what karma is. So there's no judgment. There's no bad karma in truth. There is just simply a pattern going on that is solvable, that is a solution. So today, set an intention and let yourself focus on being in truth. Work with what is, work with the darkness. Work with what shows up in your circle as and when, and just go with it. Learn more about yourself, learn about your code and how to rewire this old story, because now is a really, really magical time to do that. So lots of love to you for the next 20 days. Resonating with the goddess, looking where we're not. And I hope to see you joining me for the circle next Saturday when we start the final 13-day process of Yellow Star. Lots of love. Bye for now.